play its part, MAE will play its part in all serious organizations. We call on them, we urge them, we must work together, we must organize, we must live together. We have to raise awareness, we have to raise the political class consciousness. But most importantly, we have to organize for victory. Victory is not something that comes out of the sky like rain. Victory is not a natural occurrence. Victory is the tailor-made conclusion of those who struggled, those who contended, those who planned, those who organized and succeeded. That is victory. Imagine you have side A and side B. They're contended for something. Side A doesn't plan. Side B plans. Who's more likely to succeed? Side B. We need to be the one succeeding. Right now, we're not succeeding. The enemy class is succeeding. We need to change that around. If we kick our feet up and do nothing, nothing will happen. But if we bring ourselves together, pool ourselves together, our intellect, our resources, our willpower, our labor, our everything, we have a fighting chance. And that is what we wish to accomplish. We're not just a library, we're also a political organization. We're multifaceted, we're multi-talented, and we're also urging everybody who's multifaceted, multi-talented to come together for the sake of not yourself. This is for the sake of others that you don't know, you've never met, and you probably won't ever meet. But that is what this is all about. It's for others. It's for collectivization. It's for the well-being of you, your family, and those who will come after you. Because we need to make sure that we prepare for the future. And the future cannot continue under capitalist and imperialist domination. We will not continue under neo-colonial rule. It must be under scientific socialism. We must strategically and scientifically apply dialectical and historical materialism. And then from there, we must organize and prepare for class struggles. And from that class struggle, we begin our revolution. And we continue to march towards a better world, a better tomorrow, a better Nigeria. Thank you. The organization is very necessary. So the purpose of organization can vary based on what the objective of the organization is. Our objective is many. Our objective is to build a new kind of citizen that is both class and politically aware of their surroundings and your organization. But as I've said before, it's not enough just to be aware. We don't just gather knowledge for the sake of gathering knowledge. Gather knowledge for the sake of acting and doing and to teach and to create organizations all over the can so we may come together. We'll have a mass line, we'll have mass direction, we'll have mass organization, not just mobilization. To protest is okay. That is recognizing that there's something wrong. But protest, they always fizzle out. Maybe 1 week, 2 weeks. Protest will fizzle out. The organization is ongoing, it's unrelenting, it is continuous, it is a constant. It is there to serve a goal. There is a means and an end. Organization is the means. The end is whatever the organization wants. This organization is scientific social. This organization wants a social transformation of not just Nigeria and we're facing the whole of Africa. So we can play our role in the world socialist revolution that needs to take place. We must overthrow the structures of capitalist imperialist domination. We must overthrow the structure that exploits us. The exploitation of human by human is wrong. As we all know, there's a popular saying in Nigeria, you can't continue like this. It is very true. We cannot continue like this. Capitalist imperialist domination is quite literally destroying the world, and we will continue to do so unless we act. If we do not act, nothing happens. And if nothing happens, what was going on will continue to go on. And we will inevitably get worse and worse. We cannot let that happen. We will not let that happen. So this is why this day in particular is very special, not just to the MAE, but to everybody who is serious about making a change, making a better world, making a better Africa, making a better Nigeria. This is your calling call. So, be dragged out of the doldrums. Come organize, come join any serious organization that is desiring social transformation, not just by mouth, but by materials. So you can talk of social transformation. It's not to materialize social transformation. There's one thing to object for subjective desires, and there's one thing to turn those subjective desires into objective reality. That is what we want to do as materialists. We want to turn subjective into object. We want to manipulate the material world in the interest of our class, the working class, the laborers, whether they're informal laborers, formal laborers. We also want to bring the peasantry, the small farmers, the people who are producing or should be producing. We want to have them in our corner, work with us and work with them. So we can be the one that guide Nigeria in the direction that it needs to be guided. The bourgeois class, or the comfortable bourgeois class, or the people who own and are privatizing everything, beaches, national parks, anything and everything being privatized. SOE, state-owned enterprises, they're being scrapped and will continue to be scrapped for the sake of privatization. For their desires and the desires of multinational corporations. Many Nigerian socialists have actively written and talked about it, from Baba Omojola to late Nigerian political economist Baba Omojola. He has written multiple books on the World Bank and the IMF and the social, political, and economic impacts on the Nigeria and on the third world. And it's always almost the same case. That the IMF will ask for SAP. SAP is Structural Adjustment Program. So that means to say they want us to devalue our currency in order to be conditioned for accepting a loan, which will cause inflation, which will cause all these hardships. We have seen it with our eyes since the 80s, since the IBB regime, that SAP has never been a positive thing for those who are on the receiving end of IMF loans. It has led to quite literally the de-industrialization of Nigeria. We're seeing SOE, state-owned enterprises, being scrapped and just thrown into the wind. People who had employment is now gone. The government is shrinking, so that means all of the civil servants are now being thrown into unemployment. Now we have rising unemployment. What's that mean? Now you have banditry on the rise, so people have to do something to survive. Even though it's not good, they have to do something to survive. You see all these people with degrees, now they're now actually using their degrees to an effective way. So we have what we call brain drain, or as we say in Nigeria, so everybody is leaving Nigeria, going abroad, going UK, going Canada, going anywhere and everywhere. So all of our talent that is meant to be building Nigeria, they're in the abroad. So all of these things is to say that they are connected. It's not just one thing. It's a domino effect. So one domino falls down, the big domino of SAP falls down. These are all these horrible economic phenomena and social phenomena. It is our responsibility to understand these phenomena. It is our responsibility to act on these phenomena. It is our responsibility to raise the consciousness, the class and political consciousness, to let people know that the interests of the Tinidus or the Ahiligis or the wealthy people are not the same interests as your average working class person. Once you understand the class antagonism, once you have proper organization, once you have a proper understanding of your material and social conditions, then you are ready for class struggle. Then you are ready to struggle against your oppressors and your exploiters and come into power. And then you, as the working class, you, as the laborers of whatever society you're in, you will be the one to call the shots. You will be the one to direct and dictate what happens, who should get what should happen, and so on and so forth. But none of that is possible without the foundation of all type of action. Education is the foundation of action. Political education is the foundation of serious organization. Yes. Without further ado, I would like to be introducing and welcoming first the few organizations. So we have a few organizations here in Nigeria that are going to attend the opening and the launch of the Baba Omojola Socialist Memorial Library. So I would like to introduce the DSM, the Democratic Socialist Movement. Thank you for being there. Thank you for coming. This is not just the MAE's event. This is all of our event. Everybody, it doesn't matter which station you're in, where you are, it belongs for all of us. This is the people's achievement. This is the people's milestone. So again, to the DSM, the Democratic Socialist, thank you so much for showing up. We very appreciate it. Next, I will be introducing and thanking the MSA, Movement for Socialist Alternative. Thank you for being here. Thank you for showing up. We need a socialist alternative in Nigeria, and we must work together. All of our organizations must work together. We must be collective. We must build a vanguard that will lead the people to a socialist victory in Nigeria. Again, thank you for showing up. MSA, very appreciated. Another movement that I'd like to thank is the TIB, Take It Back movement. The Take It Back movement is here represented, and we want to thank them for for showing up. Again, we must take it back. Cannot continue like this. Definitely take it back. We take it back, Nigeria. We take it, we wrestle for power from the people who have power now and who are just using it for their interests. Okay, we will take it back. And last, the next organization I would like to thank is the SWL, the Socialist Workers League of Nigeria. Thank you for showing up. Thank you for being here. Thank you for celebrating this momentous achievement with us. We appreciate you, Socialist Workers League, and we will together work together to build an alternative in Nigeria, a socialist alternative in Nigeria. We cannot wait. We cannot continue like this. The time to act is now. Lastly, we would like to very much thank the MOP, Movement of the People. This is Alakoti's party that was revived. And yes, we are here now. We have representatives here. This is the revived party of Alakot, the son that revived it. And we are here today. They are here today to be thanked by us. And we very much appreciate the MOP, Movement of the People. Thank you for showing up. Thank you for joining us. And we will work together to build a people's organization, people's movement that will usher in a new age in Nigeria, a socialist age in Nigeria. Not continue like this at all. Also, to add to that, MAE is also part of the MOP. That is to say, the movement for African emancipation. It is part of the movement of the people. We are a member party of that organization. So to help build their party, to help build the actual people's party. So I just want to make that be clear. MAE is also part of MOP. Thank you. I'd like to introduce my comrade Shango. I'll get to you later. Yes, my comrade Shango will be the one talking. I'll speak after him. So please, everybody, give your attention to my beloved comrade Shango. Thank you. Good afternoon. I hope you can hear me. First of all, let me apologize for the late start. We're not meaning to keep any sort of African time, but in fact, our two speakers are not here. One is certainly has given his apologies, and he will be here later. Hopefully, he's going to try his very best. That's Sean Kuti. And where need to look at the camera? I don't need to look at the camera, right? You don't need to. And Dr. Fagowa is also on his way. By the way, can somebody please tell me for Dr. Fagowa? Okay, by the way. Very welcome to all those who have came here on time, and they appreciate it very much. So we, with the help of a lot of supporters, are launching the Baba Omojola Socialist Memorial Library today. In fact, I think you look around what we have so far. We just started. We certainly need a lot more support to keep things forward, but we are very excited. We, of course, it's a movement for African emancipation, the organization that is behind this initiative. But we certainly know we are not doing this alone. We're doing this in terms of the struggle for the liberation of our continent, of our country. Working together, we want to create a platform for working together among those dedicated to that struggle. When I speak about that, I will speak about Baba Omojola, because we try to follow his example. And why are we launching a library in the name of in the memory of Baba Omojola? Certainly inspired us to do this because of lifetime of his work, which was certainly dedicated to
political education, organizing, and in the spirit of socialism and pan-Africanism. As Comrade F has mentioned, Baba Omojola was the managing editor of Mass 9, which copies we shall give out free today for those who are lucky enough to be here to collect these historical documents. These are only small snippets of the work of Baba Omojola. We launched a library in the same because in his own practice, he had a library which he called the Frederick Engels Memorial Library. And he collected a lot of books in his time. And we felt it would certainly be, rather than keep these books away, these books have been locked away for 10 years. They have been damaged by water, termites. Some books were carried away by the SSS some time ago when Baba was alive. So a lot of things have happened to but whatever remains, it will be a waste to hide away somewhere. So the Frederick Engels Memorial Library, what we are continuing, but we would rather give it an African perspective. Baba was happy to have a library in honor of Frederick Engels. We feel it's more appropriate to go back to our African roots and look at the kinds of people who were leaders of struggle in our country and our continent. So we are renaming that library the Baba Omojola Socialist Memorial Library. And also, while Baba was a Marxist, which is why he memorialized Frederick Engels, the most important identity he had for himself was his African identity. He was first and foremost an African, and everything he did, whatever the theory was about standing for Africa. So in the very beginnings of his life in struggle, it was around the campaign for South Africa, Southern Africa liberation, and the struggle began. He was involved in the struggle for the freedom of Algeria from French colonialism. And essentially, it was primarily Africa that was his concern. So I'll continue to speak a bit about Baba Omojola. I'll come back to what we are going to achieve, what we aim to achieve with the library. So I want to read how he described himself. He said, "It's my African identity." And this is a book we have here called Baba in the Eyes of the People, the book of tributes to him. So who am I? They call me a short sky. This implies that I endeavor to be an internationalist practicing the precepts of permanent revolution. For this, I had partaken of undertakings in some struggle for transformation of society and the environment around a bit of Africa, Algeria, Nigeria, and Southern Africa to be precise. Professionally, I am an economic consultant, exhibiting my intellectual potential for Marxism, which I consider is the most scientific underlay for studies in political economy, society, or industrial investment. The father that raised me compacted his duties as canon emeritus of the Anglican Diocese of Ibadan with a collection of traditional herbal remedies. A hunter of the wild, Ajibola, born on the last day of the Yoruba Civil War, 23rd September 1886, composed indigenous music for piano. His grandfather, Oluwide, by the way, Baba Omojola used the pen name Baba Oluwide. We have books here, people will say it's called Baba Oluwide, not Baba Omojola. For example, we have Imodu, a biography of Imodu. I will speak about this as well. political history of Nigeria written by Baba Omojola. So Baba Omojola believed in his ancestors' way of life. So he went back to his grandfather's name. That's why it was also called Baba. Baba Rinde. Baba came back. That is his father's father coming back, and he believed and acted in the ways of his ancestors. So he took the name Baba Oluwide as his pen name. So that was his grandfather, his great grandfather. So his father's grandfather, Oluwide, joined ranks with Kurumi, the Ààrẹ Ọ̀nà Kakanfò, Field Marshal of Yoruba, when the Ààrẹ affronted the Aláàfin, the premier monarch of Yoruba, against his breach of the traditional law of succession to the throne. They were drowned when the superior Ibadan army raised Ijaye to the ground and scattered the settlement. Kurumi immersed himself inside Ogun River and defeated the field marshal. My grandfather Ajala, the weaver and goldsmith, picked up the bits and pieces, tracing his roots back to New Ijaye in Abeokuta with his wife's instruments and tools by the close of the 19th century. Though absorbed in my addiction for the gains of Western civilization in technology of ballet, I am in revulsion of its romance with individualistic human rights. Communal well-being supersedes for me as an African. I consider myself a humanist. Yet I am an advocate of the excellence of Yoruba ethics rooted in Ifa, the epistemology of the Yoruba, and over there we have the Odu Ifa, which is something that Baba took quite important in his lifetime. Is right there. We have some books on Ifa here as well. Ifa teaches me the body of Yoruba knowledge about the supernatural nature and society. I furnish the symbiosis of the West and Africa in jazz music. But the heartbeat of my being is the combination of indigenous African music with the essence of community Aboriginal life. This is what I believe is responsible for me and most of my countrymen remaining unloved, despite the deprivations brought by the Arab and transatlantic slave traders, plus the pillage of the Black colonialist brigands who now rule our region. So that's about Baba. So for those on Zoom, we will address your questions in the chat in due course. Please hold on, but please keep on putting your questions and comments in the chat. As was said, I want to come to the objectives of this library in our day and time. You know, we are not just talking here about history and the past, but what are we to do in the present? What is the value of this? Because the most pressing concern for us is what was termed the Black colonialist brigands who are now ruling our country and our continent. We are living in very difficult and interesting time. I know for those who are managed to come to this program today, will not have had an easy journey because those who lost on the behalf of their colonialist masters have decided that fuel must be very expensive in our country, so people can hardly afford to move about. Right now, people are struggling to find food to eat, to survive. And the reason why all this is happening, as we all know, or For those of us who are more conscious and aware, is that some colonialist imperialists somewhere in Washington or Paris or wherever they tend to base themselves decided that Nigeria must raise the price of petrol beyond the means of people to afford it. Decided that Nigeria must devalue its currency, despite Nigerians not being able to survive such an a policy. As we are aware, the colonialists also instructed our commander-in-chief to go and fight against Niger, which he was trying to do until, of course, the forces of pan-Africanism in Africa are fighting back, which we are also, happy to speak about today in our time. But we can see very clearly that we are run by imperialist puppets of the imperialists. And so you can understand that comment that these are the new colonialists who now rule our region. The thieves, the armed robbers, or whatever else, best describes them. So people might say, well, so those are the issues of the day. All people are concerned about is what they should eat, how they shall survive, what concerns them with reading books right now. Maybe they think we are, you hear this name regularly. If I want to speak about why we are doing library, especially at this time. In learning in his book, What to Be Done, but speaking about his country, Russia, where the same issue was being said. Forget about people reading books. Forget about people theorizing, talking grammar. What is important is what person go talk. And when I fight, we must forget the book. So we must be like the crazy people we are crazy concerning the book. But like I said, without the knowledge, without understanding our history, or without understanding what is really going on, we just don't understand why the people are doing what they are doing and how we can fight them. People are not thinking about, for example, what I've described as the imperialist machinations behind Tinubu's evil policy. We know the source of where this thing comes from. And we know that it is not only Nigeria, but our continent that is under the rule of these imperialists. And by holding down the continent, they can better hold us down and use their power to keep us down. So it is by understanding these things, by reading the history, by having discussions and debates, by actually having and also understanding that what works best in organizing, I said earlier, I will talk about this book, Imodo, a biography, political history of Nigeria, 1939 to 1950, which is a book, that helps you to understand how Nigeria gained its independence. When they talk about Nigeria gaining independence, they tell you about Obafemi Awolowo, Nnamdi Azikiwe, whoever else they decide to name and put on their Naira notes. They'll never tell you about this man, Imodu, labor leader, whose actions in leading the labor workers of that time period was the crucial element in Nigeria getting independence, in mobilizing the workforce of Nigeria. And I should say, incidentally, what a sad time we live in now, where we have labor leaders who are, I don't know what to call those ones. We declare protest today, cancel tomorrow, declare strike today, cancel tomorrow, disappearing magicians, whatever. I mean, look, So maybe Nigerians to come and learn about such a character and understand that it was not always so, and we have the power to take back the unions, because the unions were always like that. People think they're a new phenomenon. You always had labor leaders who betrayed the people. And it took people with consciousness who understood the need for socialism, for pan-Africanism, for organized action, the power of working class. They know they can use it. And they did. So, you know, we have the opportunity to have a center like this. We hope this is going to be the first of many. There are other organizations. Of course, there are others that exist in Nigeria, and we are happy to join those who are doing the work, like the Socialist Library in Calabar. You know, but we want more of these kinds of centers where people can really actually discuss and learn and now start to, you know, develop consciousness among the masses. You know, because the masses are there, they are ready to struggle, they are, you know, wondering what's going on, why the labor leadership keeps on betraying them, why there's nobody calling any protest, why everything is quiet, why people are dying and people are, you know. So, of course, there needs to be the work of consciousness in this period of struggle. And of course, let us not talk about our mixed education system as well, because it is important for us to understand that our students starting from their primary, secondary, and university are being miseducated. In fact, that's when they give them a chance to have the education, because otherwise, half the time the universities are closed. They have now increased the tuition fee beyond the ability for students to pay for it. Another neoliberal pro-imperialist policy of the government. And so we have students there who are being fed wrong information and not even given an education. So we need education centers like this to reach our young people. You know, so that's another, you know, reason for doing this. We, you know, just thinking about politics as well, that people have to organize politically. And there's a need for them to organize, understand the need for this political organization, because we're at the time in which, you know, because politics is what is the, Kwame Nkrumah said, seek first the political kingdom. Politics through which is a venue through which people can remove and change the policies of the bastards in power. And, you know, like, speaking again about, you know, what Baba Omojola, there was always that active involvement in politics, in different political formations, that we have a lot of history here that people can learn about. We had the Socialist Workers Party, the Farmers and Youth. We had the People's Republican Party. Baba was involved in, Imodu was involved in, and we had different, you know, political formations, united thoughts, you know, and so we think now, you know, that it is necessary as well to use this as an avenue for organizing in that area as well. Shokuti, one of our speakers, like I said, hopefully he makes it to speak about that. You know, from the movement of the people. So the team actually wants today to be about the role of political education in building or developing a movement in our times. You know, and speak about the movement for African emancipation, who are launching this library. I've spoken about why we are doing this. The movement for African emancipation was formed in 2019. As essentially, in our minds, was first and foremost having the political education of those involved in struggle to be taken seriously, to work towards the building of the consciousness of the masses of our country, towards understanding what is going on and how they can organize the fighting, but also taking pan-Africanism as a guiding principle. And by pan-Africanism, we don't mean just say you have a love of Africa and African past, African history, African culture. We've always found that the best lovers of African culture, African food, African language are in fact the neo-colonialist puppets. They know how to dress the best way, they know how to eat the best food, talk the best way. That doesn't mean much. We do understand that for pan-Africanists, we must be socialists and we must be revolutionary. We follow the footsteps of leaders such as Kwame Nkrumah, Sekotore, and yes, we follow the principles of Marxism insofar as they apply to our continent, just as Baba Omojola did. So we basically, essentially it is about education for us first and foremost, and in a pan-Africanist manner, and taking account of what
I'm so tired.
how do we deal with problems in Africa, how we possibly how we African, how we invite our own, let people understand their great African past, which are things that people don't realize. For example, talking about the issue of Western society and technology, people don't realize how our great technological advances, not just in Egypt, but in the rest of Africa as a whole. These are information that people, the whole brainwashing has made everybody, even those on the left, believe that Africans were just some kind of savages living on trees somewhere, or bush houses, that we can be proud of what we as Africans have been able to achieve and what we can achieve. And we also aim to unite across the African continent and the diaspora of the African people, which is what pan-Africanism is about, not just principle of uniting Africa. It is about the African people, because African people are spread all over the world for historical reasons that we're well aware of. And so that unity for us is very crucial. We work on building that unity because we know that having united organizations in Africa and informing ourselves about what is going on across the continent, making networks, building links, is very crucial. A lot of the support we have had for this life has come from the diaspora. We understand that. And we also understand now, we say it's interesting times for us in Nigeria, interesting times in Africa. We are seeing the Sahel region rising up against pan-Africanism. I say against imperialism. We are seeing what's going on in Mali, in Burkina Faso, in Niger. We are seeing, people rising up in different parts of the continent and an awakening of sorts. And, the need for linkages is ever more important at this point in time. So those are, some of the objectives of the movement for African emancipation, which we hope to fill the use of the library. I would like to say maybe we should take those from other left organizations here to come and recognize them and let them speak. We want to instill spirit of unity as well among the left in Nigeria, and to support ourselves and this platform. We have invited those we could invite among the left. And I think that again is in the spirit of Baba Omojola's book. It was always about trying to bring left forces together where possible. And for example, I remember there was Socialist, I can't remember the Union of Socialist Parties, and then there was the Movement for Popular Democracy, which Anikula Kokuti was invited to as a very staunch socialist in this country, and she took with her Fela Kuti, and there were all sorts of left Christians within that. This was just before Mama Kunayo passed away. So, we really take seriously as well, and in our own work, we work with diverse left organizations. We see that we have the joint cause to build the struggle, but we must take seriously the issue of political education. We cannot underemphasize the discussion, debates, and giving an access to masses of our people to information. So that said, I don't know, I'll turn over back to the chair, but if we could start to introduce people from other left organizations to introduce themselves and to speak on their own views. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much to my comrades on low. Before we get into actually letting representatives from other socialist organizations in Nigeria, I want to just recognize a few more organizations that have entered. Yes, so I want to recognize the ACIS-M, the Amilcar Cabral Ideological School Movement. They are here. We have a good relationship with the ACIS-M. We thank them, we welcome them. Thank you for joining us during this momentous day. And another organization that we would like to welcome and thank for their presence is the CDHR, Committee for the Defense of Human Rights. Thank you for being here. Thank you for showing up. Thank you for joining us on this monumentous day. Remember, this day is not just for MAE. This day is for the people that we wish to serve, the masses, for everybody. So this is the people's achievement. This is the people's library. This is the people's day. So thank you so much to both the ACIS-M and the CHDR for joining us today. Yes, now, without further delay, we can allow representatives from the organizations to come and speak and say some things. And okay, now we would like to call on the representatives of the member organizations here so they can come and talk and speak in coordination to what we have talked about. Doing MSA, Movement for Socialist Alternative. With the representative from the Movement for Socialist Alternative, please come and join me.
Thank you so much for inviting me to this side of the table. I really appreciate this. Thank you so much. And also welcoming all comrades in attendance to Baba Omojola Socialist Library. This is a giant stride, in the historical records of political struggle in Nigeria, most especially as Marxist Leninist revolutionary organization. And as always, it's very important for us to understand the basic needs of political education for our struggle. We will constantly be the teachers of the working class political revolution, the transformation of Nigeria. what therefore is important, as I mentioned earlier on, is our political education. And setting up a Baba Omojola Socialist library is key, it's instrumental, to every development of our political consciousness and ideological consciousness towards empowering ourselves to be able to provide adequate leadership and guidance to the mass movement of the working class, the vast majority of the working class in Nigeria. Comrades, the struggle has not yet started. The Nigerian version of the working class political revolution has not yet started. We are still preparing for it, and we are hoping that by the time we move into the full strength of the working class political movement in Nigeria, we all be happy, to be part and parcel of that struggle. We all be happy to be part and parcel of that movement, the driving socialist Nigeria that we all aspire for as revolutionaries. So while I hand up, let me quickly say I'm Comrade Sheldon by name from the movement of the Socialist Alternative Nigeria, the Nigerian section of the International Socialist Alternative, and we sincerely want to appreciate the movement for African emancipation and the movement of the people who have taken it as a burden, as a responsibility upon themselves to institute the Baba Omojola Socialist Library. The movement for Socialist Alternative always ready to give support in whatsoever form. We are ready to donate, so as we donate books and political education materials, to the development of this library. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. Thank you. Thank you so much. Always.
Thank you to the representative of the MSA Movement for Social Alternative. We very much appreciate what he has said, and everything he has said is very much in line with the purpose of this library and with the goals of the MAD. Next, I would like to call on a representative from the TIB, Take It Back Movement. Please, member of the TIB, representative of the TIB, please join me at this table so you can speak to the people and express words of solidarity alongside the MAD. Again, Take It Back Movement. There's a representative from Take It Back Movement. Please come and join me. Next one. Okay, moving to the next one. SWL, Socialist Workers League. If there's a representative from the Socialist Workers League, please come and join me. Oh, they're not here. Okay, never mind. They're online. Okay, but they're online. Okay. So, all right. So the Socialist Workers League, they are here, but they are online, so they will not be able to join me in person. So the next organization left will be MOP, Movement of the People. Sorry, we're having some issues, but we'll get back to the program immediately. Next on the list is MOP, Movement of the People. Representative from MOP will now be joining me at this table. Something coordination with this and this seems like when business comrades, first of all, congratulations to the NA for bringing this very profound project to life. We, the movement of the people comrades, are proud to have been a part of this, proud to have also worked in cooperation and coordination with the movement of African emancipation. Right, in MOP, right, our policy, our ideology is pan-Africanism, right, which is total unification and liberation of Africans, right? So you cannot ideally unite Africans or liberate Africans. If you do not know your history, if you don't know your people, if you don't know where you come from, right? If you don't know the conditions that have led us to this place in the first place, right? And first and the most important thing is understanding this, right? And how best do you understand, if not by living
right? So the establishment of the library or the learning center is first of all the basic step, right? The most fundamental step in trying to move towards pan-Africanism, we try to move towards one Africa, right? And we try to move towards scientific socialism, right? So we are really proud to have this. We have tried to tell most of our colleagues about this, right? And now, right, a lot of our colleagues are really represented here. And by the grace of our ancestors, we went from here to a better place with more books and more resources that the people can learn and get from. Thank you very much. We are very happy to be a part of this. Thank you.
We thank the representative from MOP for their words of solidarity. What they have said is in total alignment with what the MAD believes. So yes. Can somebody from the ACIS-M, that is Amilcar Cabral, Ideological School Movement, can the representative from Amilcar Cabral, Ideological School Movement, please join me at this table and give words of solidarity. Israeletu, Africa,
Israeletu, Africa, continua,
Victoria.
Asata.
Let's meet first. Thank the African the movement for African emancipation who are behind this launching the Socialist like that. I'm sharing this in the African School. Let me thank them for the fact that it's an organization that is bringing this set of traders, not just using activists, but working class conscious. You see comrades, committed to Africanism, scientific pan-Africanism, through the instrument of socialism, revolutionary, not just to see every type of change. And I want to say that, like Malcolm X said, one of the greatest Black ones is that education is our passport to have a library where people can have access to reading, because you cannot afford to just raise activists when the storm comes, they don't know where to be found. Because this struggle will not be a 100 meters dash. It's a struggle that is from now to eternity. Because even when we keep capitalism in this part of the world, there are other counterparts in other places which do they will fight us. So the struggle will continue. And those that are displayed too, they will have to fight back. So the struggle will still continue at that end. But the struggle to eliminate exploitation of man by man, which is the basis of all the problems in the world, greed. Because you cannot determine what is enough. For people who want everything in the world, you people want to take everything that should belong to everybody in the world, and while other living in perpetual penury. So it is on these notes that I bring greetings from the American School, which is a scientific pan-Africanist working class organization that is building and raising traders since 2000, since 2005. You see, in the qualitatively, the struggle of Nigeria, we're seeing how best we can see how a country that can be our own. Because if you see, why it's important that this kind of library, one of the purposes is going to serve. That when you look at this last cycle of election that we had, Nigeria is at a point where the first three candidates that emerged, which one of them have emerged as the president, they basically presented on the same thing except for the election of the ANC. They presented the same thing that if that either of them they are satisfied, and they made it very clear that they were going to do the same thing, and they were not in any way apologetical about it. So what is now left for the working class, for the youth, for the downtrodden, for the oppressed, if we do not build our organization with knowledge,
because it is knowledge. Because when you read Marx, you read Lenin, you read about the last one, you read other revolutionaries, and those who have also made revolution in their own time. It's from there you understand that's the solution to this barbarism happening that you have. The socialism, it is not promises by anybody to say, I will do this, I will do this, I will do this. Just like Socialist said, no socialism is ensured all of these vices, all of man's problem will be withered away, because socialism is that economic system and going to ensure justice and going to ensure you see that banish poverty, banish ignorance, banish diseases, because even when people medically are going to die, you'll be cared for. They will be cared for because it's not from the point of profit. When you have a drug on the shelf that can take care of the patient, when you have an injection, however expensive, to take care of the patient, but because that patient cannot afford it, at the issue, that person is dead. That's what capitalism is. But socialism is not the investment in knowledge, investment in science that is people-centered, not profit-first, people's first. This of the people first at all time, and no way are you going to have profits. You see, being the motive behind every of what we want to do. So it is on this note, I salute the NAE, I salute everybody who have contributed to this effort into raising cadres who are armed with knowledge, which should take us for the future, raising a generation of comrades, not just activists. You see, who will be very crucial. You see, today and in the period that we are going into the future. So the future we are going into is to that we keep organizing, we keep building ourselves so that we can be dominant people in the trade unions. When we have our people, when we have raised many traders and they are not leading the trade unions, it's not the same labor leaders that you have people who are the ones holding the rank and file workers down. No, that will be possible. Those are going to be that we are going to have conscious working class comrades leading the unions who know that once we that the unions, that the essence of leading unions is to ensure that the working class themselves, who produces the wealth and the major beneficiary to organize and determine how the wealth of the people are used to see for the working class, the oppressed, and all other classes. You see, with the working class, we play a leading role. So it's on this note, I want to thank the organizers and all of us who have taken our time to be here. That this is how to go. We do more of this. Not be tired of organizing. Yes, it is because if you look at it, there's no reward attached. That you can be looking, but we can be fulfilled doing this. Because when eventually we win, just like we have had hope, just like another place where people have played revolution. For example, in Cuba offers hope for humanity. We have this place where a country that even the state where we are in Lagos is richer than, because the South African people can bring over 500,000 human beings to fight on the side, say, of South Africa and Namibia that ensures freedom in that space. As a country, when we had the pandemic, people could not be sent doctors to even Italy, the first world country, send doctors around. When you had Ebola, they brought doctors in their thousands to West Africa to fight Ebola. So that's an example of what socialism represents. So it is on this note, I want to thank us once again and say, "A luta continua." Victoria Sata.
Thank you. Very enthusiastic comrade from ACI and staff. We appreciate the words of the representative. We have had multiple organizations come and join us and congratulate us and speak to all of us about their ideological alignment, the purpose of political education, the purpose of mass organization, when a grassroots organization going from door to door, person to person, house to house, with the purpose of educating the masses, understanding that the politicians that we have in office today are not really politicians, but they are criminals. They are comprador criminals. They have their own class interests and they serve their own interests along with the interests of those who are abroad. whether they're in Paris, whether they're in Washington, the UK, it doesn't matter. Those are the people they ultimately serve. Those are the interests that they ultimately serve. They do not serve the ordinary working person, whether it is a formal labor or informal labor, whether it's tailor, mechanic, it doesn't matter. Our interest, the working interest, the laboring person's interest is not accounted for whenever they are doing their politics, whenever they are talking. They're not talking for us, they're just talking to us. All right, so without further ado, we're gonna have our comrade join me, Comrade Bayo, it would come like to speak. Please come. He has some words to share for us.
Good afternoon, our brothers and sisters, our comrades. I just want to address. I just want to give my own brief assessments, of Baba Omojola. And I'm not being of the generation of 60s, 80s, 90s, 40s, but the work that he has done and what's it called, his ideas, what he has able to put into writings and things he has able to do, in his lifetime. It seems inspirational for our own generation. I was privileged to explore his private library, and I see how dedicated he was, to the extent that his own private life doesn't have online politics. Lots of time for it. Like he came up about where is Nigeria going to. He could have been somewhere else around the world with his certificate and stuff like that, but realized that the development of his people is more evident and more important. And for us today, we feel like we can draw from his old work where he stopped, and we can be able to advance it and see what we can be able to do. And we all understand, like Baba was saying, democracy and stuff of things. But prior to Baba's ideology, you understand the contradictions that have brought us where we are today, and the system that produces the likes of Tinubu, the likes of Buhari, and stuff like that. You understand that the system of imperialism, the system of capitalism, because I think they produce these people because any system that has put wealth, above human welfare, we always put people like Tinubu and stuff like that. So Baba understands this concept properly, and I realize that we can't, go on naming individuals, because if Tinubu goes today, another person will come. If Buhari goes to another person will come. So we have to understand the system. What we have to do is just that how can we be able to change the system from the scratch? It's just like when you have the malaria and you're just taking Panadol or the malaria will still be there. You might not have the headache, but a few times the headache will still comes back. So we realize that in the Nigerian economy, there's something they call political economy, which is attached to the global economy in general. So people might be like, it might be a local contractor or a local power in Nigeria, but its political power is attached to the power outside of Nigeria. So we are looking to understand all these things. And one of the most important things we have to take very serious is organizing. Baba was also saying earlier that we have to go to the streets, research citation and see how we can be able to go to grassroots movement. But in word of Baba, a lot of people don't understand this, that economic hardship sometimes might not be clarity, might not be, people understand how things are working in our country. People might say that, maybe power, there is hunger and all stuff like that. But people don't know what got that hunger in the first place. Why we all have resources, why others have it. So for us, realize that the system is just that some people are working and they feel and enjoying the labor of the majority. So what we intend to do is just that work about just as socialism. And one of the main reasons why we created this library is just that we realize that we lack ideological deficit of leaders in our country today. And during the past time, they were privileged to lead people that were much more older than them, that put them through. Even within their own time, when they were schooling in London and stuff like that, they organized among Black communities, people from the Caribbean and stuff like that, understand the contradiction of Nigeria. Same with the contradiction of Jamaica or somewhere else that are suffering in the global south. So Baba understood this. Baba put the idea that for us to eradicate capitalism, there must be a system of socialism. And one of the main reasons why we got this why we put this library together, or like one of the pan-Africanist together, it shows that how can we be able to put this idea as in the mind of people? How can people understand, politics as a driven force for change? When you ask, you go to your people on the street, they tell you politics is a dirty game and stuff like that. Because there are some people that are able to put that narrative to people's head that politics is dirty. But politics is not dirty. When you understand it, then you know that the data of what happens to us as an individual, as a collective, people, as a collective people, you understand that capitalism has affected us. So for us, we are socialists and we are pan-Africanists. And one of the reasons why we call ourselves pan-Africanists is just that we understand that within our context, as African people, we understand that there's a role we need to play. We have to understand our society and see within our society and find solutions which is scientifically proven. So for today, this place is the home for all. It's not the home for MAE or the home for foundation, or it's the home for Batai or it is a home for everybody to come and learn from the past and see how we can be able to better the present and the future. So I would like to make comments on you. All of our comments is there. All of our speakers. We are not allowed to sit there.
I want to, because I'm just reading the chat. I wanted to do before. Before we introduce our chief speaker, yes, one of our chief speakers. There's some questions in the chat. At which point are we going to address them?
Let's go. I said we should address the questions in the chat. So far, there's one question that I see.
There's been more questions.
I'm sure there's more by now.
Who's done it? I had them, but then I think I'm not.
We can wait to the questions. Then we can get to. No, but I think that before we get to it, are we giving him the floor? No, that's coming. We have all been doing it.
I don't know why, but my chat.
No, I have it here. I have them here.
So can you get them out? So maybe
They are here.
after from the password to address.
No, I think that we should take the.
Okay, let's start taking the questions.
No, before the question, I think we should take the AAC.
Okay, we see our face.
Yeah.
But before AC comes, there was a request in chat. I just want to.
No, we'll address that after.
No, it's not a request. I want to address this now.
Okay.
Just a simple question. There's a request for a minute silence for one of Baba's contemporaries. So I want to take that now. Continue. So please, maybe we can have silence in the house, please. But we want to honor a comrade. Comrade Jonathan Ihonde, who just passed away. I remember meeting Comrade Jonathan Ihonde because in a few years before Baba died, he took me with him to Benin to a meeting of the Socialist Revolutionary Vanguard. We have a Socialist Revolutionary Vanguard material here. And I had the honor of meeting Baba Ihonde in Benin, as well as other comrades who are still like Professor Sinyai. But I remember meeting very specifically Comrade Ihonde. And just give me a second. This, but we want to observe a minute silence. But I just want to read about just very short about Comrade Ihonde. There was a tribute to him, but I think people in the chat can help us to think about Comrade Ihonde, who was, active throughout, many years in our country. So I would like us, please, would like some silence, please. to observe a minute silence in honor of Jonathan Yonde. Thank you. All right, may you rest in power. So now we will take the representative of the ANC to give his message. And in the interim, we're having a fuller house now. Then it can spread out to be there because as part of our launching, we have our library card. Yes, we're going to ask everybody here to get the library card. You have to pay for it unless you're unemployed or underemployed. Or both, or a student. 2,000 naira for the working people. And for the richer, is on income. The socialists will tax and they are coming to income. So if you have a million naira to pay for this, we're very happy to collect our library funds to survive. So I ask everybody before you leave, pay for a library card. Thank you very much. So AC, is AY?
Yeah, AY.
Okay, this is AY. Formerly Lagos State Chairman or presently Lagos State Chairman. President. And then I follow on. Thank you very much. And Luther.
Continua. Asata.
Sit down. Thank you very much.
And Luther, Victoria. I'm happy to be here today. I will repeat my name again. My name is Comrade Ayoka, former piggyback government coordinator in Lagos, now President of the African Congress chairman. But we are comrades, so we don't carry chairman's method or chairman's way of movement around. We move like comrades because that's what we are. I'm happy to be here, celebrating and honoring this great man, Baba Omojola. There's always a saying in the quality of the days when activists, revolutionary fighters are trying to get political power. Then we say that we don't have experience, that what experience we have. And the reason why some of people have the reason to say these things is because the struggle, the fights, and a lot of the things that activists of the era of Baba Omojola and co and many after have not been properly documented and celebrated. That is why people turn around to ask activists why they are contesting for political power that we don't have experience. And very unfortunately, the most experienced fighters, the most experienced leaders are people that struggle to fight for a better society. Sacrificing family comfort, sacrificing money, sacrificing having the best of the capitalist peanuts to make sure that we have a very progressive society. These are the works of the likes of Baba Omojola. And it is great that we are doing this today. And there should be more of this. Many young activists do not know these men. They do not. Who they know are the Apashas of this world, the criminals, the tyrants, the Buharis, and this world, the Solomons that are president today. But they don't know fighters like Baba Omojola and the sacrifices that they made. And there are some people here today that even struggle to there. You need to, tell the world more about these men. Let's be more documented. That is why this program is very important to us and to the ANC. We are happy that we attend this program and represent the entire party. And the message and all the information that have been gotten here be taken to our entire movement and party in Lagos, and even to the TIB movement, and even outside of Lagos. And as these men have passed the torch to we young contemporaries, we definitely will continue with the struggle to achieve a better Nigeria and a better Africa. Thank you very much. Aluta, Victoria. Thank you. A round of applause, please.
The MAE, we definitely appreciate the words of the representative of AAC. Everything that was said in the environment was what we want to do with MAE and everything that we all need to do as serious people who want to see a socialist transformation in Nigeria. We cannot continue like this. We must act accordingly. We must organize for the pursuit of victory, and we must organize in the pursuit of power. We cannot rely on those who are in power right now to do for us. It is us that must do for us.
Comrade Popola Ajayi, you know that the Pope of Africa, Pope, together with him, we are on the Baba Omojola Memorial Committee, funeral committee, you know, for Baba Omojola's funeral, and he has been supported over the years, during Baba's time and after has been immense. So, as somebody who knows Baba very well, as an in-law of ours, he can give us 5 minutes his own message.
Great Nigeria people.
Great.
Great Nigeria people.
Great.
Solidarity. I'm well, I'm happy to be here. Happy for one thing, that the faces I'm seeing here today are not the regular faces we know, the time past. You know, some of us who have been in the country for a very long time, the organized events, I know the same people all over and all over and all over again. You know, some people today call themselves doing self-activists. And I tell them that during those days, if there is an action, we know who participated and who didn't participate. Let's forget the crowd that joined, but we know ourselves. That's what I'm trying to say. And I'm very happy for what is being done today, because to have this life is very essential. And more importantly, you know, the kind of society we are in today, it's very difficult to keep a book and finish it before your attention is diverted to many things. So it is very good to put these ideas together as a resource center. Of course, I think we know that, if not because of certain things that happen, we will have to have a bad burial and what have you. We will have turned the bedroom, Baba's base to a resource center, where, you know, an event like this will have been held. And where all comrades, young good, and, you know, be as a rendezvous, you know, to learn from each other. So it is I'm very happy that I'm seeing younger people here today. And I want to urge you on. You know, but again, talking about mobilization around the ideology. You see, yes, they told me said you don't need to be socialist, you don't need to put anything. Your program, your manifesto, you know, will definitely market you. I tell people that, of course, Baba Omojola did a lot of work on our books. I don't know if the copy of the book is here.
There's a book.
Somewhere, covered. You know, Baba did a lot of work on our way. And I'm saying that, you know, a politician, a Nigerian politician that has been able to interpret socialism and adapt it within our cultural environment to mobilize people. Number one is how. You know, there was no way the people could have handed over power to him in 1959 or 1960, because they knew his political orientation. It was after independence that it was later when he got to power that he could even proclaim to be a democratic socialist. But before, nothing like that. But you see, people met, you know, a community where they do informal economy, and he was able to mobilize to put their resources together to distribute, to provide social amenities, education, and water. So, when the other time, some people were talking about well, religion is something, because religion is a tool. God has no religion. Well, God has no religion. All religions are man-made, created to control the minds of the people. When we talk about ethnicity, you don't choose the ethnic group you belong to, you are born into it. So you shouldn't be ashamed of it. Baba Omojola, our mentor, our father, he trained a lot of us. Even when you talk about Yoruba self-determination movement, Baba and very few people started it up. Not the fashion of each one who took the idea to be. In fact, OPC was the second group where the dual movement made up of vibrant leftist young youth then. Then later we had the Covenant group, the faction of ULM, then later OYM rather, then later the OPC. So you see, we must understand our cultural environment. We must understand that in fact our aspirations are different. When you take Nigeria as a whole, if we are pulling from here, others are pulling down. So you don't think we can, as some of us believe seriously, okay, let us organize ourselves at subnational level. If we're able to get that one right, then we can do that, escalate and mobilize others to join. Don't ever think, in fact, I'm very sorry, I'm not, what do you think you call me a Yoruba irredemptive? I don't argue, I have nothing to say about that, and I'm not ashamed of that. So because our own reasoning and other people are different. So why we have a program that is good for everybody, we must be conscious of our cultural environment one. Then two, even now we have modern tools, communication tools to easily propagate this idea. In our own days, we do leaflets, we do symposium, we do, on this table we can reach out to the whole world. So what I'm saying in essence is to get few conscious groups, along the ideological lineage, then get them understand, the ideology itself in and out. Then devise ways of communicating to them the way they will understand. If you take them to their nationality level to educate them and make them consider, don't say it has to be done straightforward. No, the Europe and what have you, they divided themselves along ethnic lines. Which country has two multiple ethnicity? Even the British, the British that colonized us, they have 3 countries within one. So why am I ashamed to belong to an Israel Republic, for instance? And what you have the Biafra, you want to have what is important is humanity. Humanity, all of us need one thing, good life. Just color it, give it any name. But you can build structure of foundation from different levels. That's my own thing. So once again, I congratulate all of us here, for being here, and that this effort should not be left, after today. That we must constantly engage, constantly, mobilize, until we get to our destination. Whether it is Green Party, Labour Party, it doesn't really matter now. But 2027 is far away. So it's not far. Rather, it's not far. We can constantly use and mobilize now. But money is very important. 2001, when I wanted to contest as of military, and we talk, they say, comrade, and then sort of that you spoke very well. And then comrade, you spoke very well. We know these people are useless. They are empty there. We know that you are the only person that, when it comes to that level, I understand what they are talking about. So we must address the issue of economy, empowerment. You cannot run away from that. In fact, there's no way you can mobilize without money. So we must find a way of empowering our movement, empowering ourselves. Otherwise, we will talk from now infinitely, not to be achieved. Solidarity forever.
We need to transcend the things that have been placed here for us. We should not be inclined to organize on ethnic lines. We should not be inclined to organize just solely on the things that are placed there. We need to organize based on material and social conditions. That is the purpose of organization, because all of the conditions here affect us regardless of what language you speak, what food you eat, what religion you follow, if you follow religion at all. So things like that should not necessarily take precedence in organizing. So I just wanted to address that. Secondly, it is very significant that we do understand which people we use to organize, because there are plenty of organizations out there. We know there are plenty of political parties, registered political parties in Nigeria. But we need to be very, very clear on which parties or which organizations we should be working with to build a socialist revolution. Because it's not APC that will build anything for us. It's not PDP that will build anything for us. It's not the major political players already intertwined with the bourgeois politics that we see in Nigeria that will build anything for us. We must break away from the bourgeois political system. That is first and foremost. We have to break away from bourgeois political parties, bourgeois political systems, bourgeois aim. We have to constantly agitate that attachment and detach. And that is a constant and professional thing. With that, we must have organization that is oriented with the people in mind, with the workers in mind, the laborers in mind, whether they be formal or informal. So I just wanted to re-stress that point. You'll hear me talk about that multiple times, so prepare yourself. And without further delay, I would like to introduce our next speaker. He's sitting right next to me, and here to speak to us. So everybody, please give him your.
Thank you very much, comrades. Comrades, I intend to title my intervention delivering legacies of a revolutionary, a pan-Africanist, a nationalist, an organizer, a Marxist, and a humanist. I titled my intervention on that basis clearly because all of these things encapsulate the entirety of what Baba was about. Baba was essentially a pan-Africanist, a revolutionary pan-Africanist, a nationalist, an organizer, a Marxist, and of course, a humanist. And I think for me, this is extremely important for some of us to understand, in the sense that when we work our path into revolutionary consciousness, we are always driven into that understanding that this is the end point of our ideological understanding of the situations of things, the circumstances that surrounds the mass of our people. But the point about ideology is that, just like culture, it is always a continuous engagement. You cannot, culture is not static. It is always on a constant, progression. Same thing with our ideology, comrade. Ideology essentially are not meant to be dogmatic. And now Baba prove clearly the reason why our ideologies, in whatever circumstances, should not be dogmatic. Because comrades, a whole lot is happening in this society that if care is not taken, we will certainly become irrelevant, particularly within the context of the struggle of our people. And our ability to be able to become relevant, to the agonies of our people and our own personal agonies must stem from that understanding of how best we can continuously build our ideological understanding of the society in order for us to understand the social realities and the conditions of our people. Baba was a man that understood why an ideological, standpoint can change at whatever point in time. But this really did not mean for Baba that the ideological roots, the basis, the material base of our existence should be ignored. Despite later parts of his life being, a subnationalistic, activist, could still understand the place of class analysis. And for him, he was of the position that when we break, when we have these subnational, national entities, when we have these subnational entities, it will be easier for the mass of the people to face, to tackle the bourgeois elements in this entity. It will be easier for us to make our mark known and what have you, despite our own disagreement with that kind of analysis. But the point remains that Baba was able to identify the place of class analysis. That even when you have your Yoruba nation, for instance, don't share in the illusion that the entirety of you that will occupy this Yoruba nation will be those that will have your interests at heart. Don't share in any illusion that when you have the Yoruba nation, for instance, that you are, summarily being saved, being liberated from the tyranny of the likes of Bola Tinubu, from the tyranny of the likes of Sanwo-Olu, from the tyranny of all of these elements. In fact, from the tyranny of the traditional rulers as we see it today. Because the traditional rulers, as we understand it today, are also emblems of oppression. They are emblems of exploitation also, like the guy in Ife. All of these elements have done use. They've lost track with the social realities and conditions of people, and they are part and parcel of members of the ruling class, directly or indirectly. So we must understand that analysis, that Baba did not totally abandon the place of class analysis, even within the context of our understanding of national struggle or the national question. Comrades, importantly, like I said, we are gathered this evening to honor Baba, and in honoring Baba, it is also for us to honor ourselves. Because we must understand the fact that we are living in a very backward society, a society that has made it almost impossible or difficult for this kind of gathering to be possible. In fact, a society that has made it difficult for us to have this kind of center, a society that has made it difficult for us to have this kind of library. You see all of these virtual libraries going there, you will never find one that represents the generality of the interest of the people. As a matter of fact, Baba called me, with respect to how we can stop the library hub with revolutionary books. Comrades, the irony of this society is that we really do not have enough bookstores, bookshops that have revolutionary books. Comrades. So that is to tell you that we are living in a perfectly described neo-colonial society. Neo-colonial society in the sense that nothing ideological, nothing positive, nothing, revolutionary, consciously or subconsciously can come out from this society. And so it takes effort of this nature to say that no, revolutionary consciousness here exists in this society. And beyond the fact that revolutionary consciousness exists in this society, revolutionary also exists in this society. And revolutionaries do not just exist in this society. We are saying that this society has got to be transformed revolutionary. So I think that is why this kind of gathering is extremely important. And that's why we must thank the organizers. We must thank, MAE for insisting that Baba must be, must be well honored with this positive, invention. But I want to suggest also to Baba that the library cannot just be a library, and I want Baba to hear this. The library cannot just be a library, because this is indeed a revolutionary center. And I think that one of the things that Baba would like is if this library can be a somewhat ideological school, because I read it in one of the works that one of the interviews that Baba granted, which Baba, I think, jotted down. When Baba was asked that what institutions, how many institutions, did he visit and all of that, and he gave a very interesting, a very, very interesting response. He said, an interesting response rather. He said, I am educated at London School of Economics, the Inner Temple, and the International Institute of Sociological Studies. These were the places where Baba got educated in London, really. And these were the places where he got his education. And this is the most important place. And he said, and I was re-educated at the School of Ideological Reorientation and the Higher College of Agitational Struggle. And the Higher College of Agitational Struggle. That is, he was re-educated. Not on the basis of the certificate or what have you. He was re-educated, at the Higher College of Agitational Struggle. And I want to say that this library must be an embodiment of that struggle. And that's why for me, I'm proposing that this great initiative, in a way, should carry that aspiration, that ideology that Baba stood for. And that's why I want to propose that, you know, if we have this library in a way that we call Baba Omojola Socialist Memorial Library and the School of Ideological Reorientation. You know, because, comrades, there is no casing fact that we are living, especially at a point in time where the entirety of capitalist social value system are taking over this society. You know, so much so that we are, in fact, not so much in tune or in realization of how much imperialism has eaten deep into this society. We are really dealing with a man that wasn't willing to whatever extent to compromise in his values and his understanding of what the society is all about. Baba went ahead in 1970. He went ahead to the Central School of Planning and Statistics. It was during this period Baba got influenced by the works of an important, political theorist known as Harold Lasky. You know, it was right there that Baba began to, delve into the teachings of Marxism. Really. During this period also, Baba worked with anti-apartheid centers in London. You know, in fact, Baba was an assistant somewhat to the ANC office in London. You know, the ANC Mobilization International office in London. Baba was a secretary, so somewhat secretary to that center. They were the ones collating, international affairs on behalf of, the ANC. To some extent, Baba worked in London as the right-hand person to Winnie Mandela, so that for you to understand that we are dealing with, and indeed, a clear-headed revolutionary pan-Africanist. And that's why it was possible for Baba around the 80s to provide security for Mbeki, Tambo Mbeki, in the 80s, when Tambo Mbeki was kicked out of South Africa. Baba provided that base for him right there, in Nigeria, so that for you to understand that we are indeed dealing with a revolutionary pan-Africanist. When Baba returned to the country after his education, Baba became a loyalist of the Zikist movement. And for many people that don't know, often we talk about Nnamdi Azikiwe, we talk about Tafawa Balewa, we talk about Awolowo, we talk about all of these elements as playing the nationalistic roles in this country, that they were the ones that fought the British colonizers. But the point is that for us, Awolowo, Tafawa Balewa, Ahmadu Bello, and all of these guys are nothing but petty bourgeois nationalists. They are nothing but petty bourgeois nationalists. And that's why many of them ended up as, ethnocentric elements, ethnic Jimbois. That's what they ended up with. The true people, the true groups that fought against the British colonialism right there in Nigeria were members of the Zikist movement, the revolutionary Zikist movement. And the Zikist movement included top-notch socialist revolutionaries. So for you to understand that, it became naturally unsurprising that Baba eventually would work with Michael Modu, the #1 labor leader in this country. Baba came up from that tradition. He worked with the Zikist movement. He wasn't just a bystander. Baba was, a working comrade within the ambit of the Zikist movement. So naturally, it became understood why Baba had to work with the labor movement. As a matter of fact, Baba became the personal secretary of Pal Modu. And it is, of course, that history that bet this is still the most authoritative book on Pal Modu. To date, you cannot get an authoritative book on Pal Modu without not getting this book. And it is as a result of the relationship Baba built with Pal Modu. In 1964, as a matter of fact, Baba and Pal Modu, they were charged with treason in this country. They were charged with treason in this country as a result of the 1964 labor strike, general strike. 1964 general, it was 1964. It was 1964 general strike, labor. Baba was arrested with Pal Modu, and they were charged with treason. And the most interesting part of this, in the court, they said Pal Modu, just like what Baba did to Johnson, they said Pal Modu should admit to the crime that they want to take over the government. And Pal Modu said, yes. we are guilty. That we are guilty, that in fact, yes, we want to take over the government, but not himself. He said, me and the workers of this country will overthrow the government if the conditions of workers do not change. You imagine in a court, and you are being, are you guilty or not? I'm guilty. Yes, you want to overthrow this government. You know, that's when a huge signal as to the parity, as to the society we are living in today. The last, labor leaders in this country, they were being threatened with court case that don't go and protest. You know, but there's a court injunction to stop people from protesting. You can imagine that kind of irrationality. A Baba Omojola would never have treated that as an important, statement. You can imagine labor leaders today not going on protest, not going on demonstration because there's a court in judgment. Who control the courts? Especially members of the ruling class. You know, so to then begin to hide against the legality of members of the ruling class is nothing but an illusion. You know, the likes of Baba Omojola, 1964, are proving it to us that the court is not the law, it's nothing but the emblem or the instrument of members of the ruling class. They use it whenever they like. And that is why for several centuries, slavery was a legal engagement. Whether in Europe, whether in America, all of these stupid nations today, they are telling us that they are the leading, vanguards of human rights. For several centuries, for over 400 years, slavery was the legal business. It was a legitimate business, in Europe, so that the law has always been within the custody of those that are in control of it. To comment, Baba rose from this tradition, and Baba worked with several generations. Baba worked with Gambo Sabawa. Baba worked with Funlayo Kuti. Baba worked with, the Okoye, the popular Okoye of Mobugo, of Mobugo Okoye of the Socialist movement, of the Zikist movement. Baba worked with Anthony now. Baba in fact worked with Aminu Kano, under the vanguard of the PRP, political party. In 1969, Baba also participated in the popular Agbekoya uprising. Baba participated so that for many people to understand the fact that Baba was indeed an organizer. He was indeed an organizer. From 1979 to 1983, comrades, Baba served as a political advisor to the PRP government in Kano. By the way, you would see that this man clearly, in his understanding of life, was just an humanist, in the sense that Baba returned from London, and there was no other place for him to go and base, not even Lagos, not any of the regions in this modern colonial society. Baba went to the north, Kano State, to reside, to base. That's extremely interesting for me. Years later, comrade, Baba would establish the Eco Consultant, and there's a report that in the 80s, in the 70s, and in the 80s, Baba Omojola was considered as one of the, as the 90th best economist in the whole world. The 90th best economist in the whole world. Till the 80s, Baba held on to this title, best economist. And we're not talking about bourgeois economists. I think next to Baba, as far as revolutionary understanding of economics is concerned in this country, next to Baba wouldn't have been any other person but Espokoyo. Many persons, if many of our economists understand who Espokoyo is or was, yeah. You would understand the fact that it was also not bourgeois economists, not economists that have been prepared by the decisions of the International Finance Capital, IMF, World Bank. Baba was a major critique of IMF and World Bank. Badi Onimode also.
Badi Onimode. Because what I mentioned, Badi Onimode was managing
Managing Director.
Manager, yes.
Oh, wow. But the only one also called arcade comrades. You know, these are revolutionary thinkers. Baba is of that generation, really. You know, Baba was instrumental to the formation of different organizations, comrades. Baba was, in particular, instrumental to the formation of the Movement of Popular Democracy, MPD, formed in 1976. Baba was instrumental to the movement, to the formation of the People's Redemption Party, PRP, like I said earlier on, formed in 1978. Baba was also instrumental to the formation of the Socialist Revolutionary Vanguard, the SRV, founded in 2001. Baba was also instrumental to the formation of the National Consultative Forum, NCF, formed in 1990. CD, the Campaign for Democracy, the National Democratic Coalition, NADECO, All Nigeria Socialist Alliance, the June 12 movement. I mean, these are movements that clearly set Baba apart from his contemporaries at that particular point in time. So that for you to know that indeed we had a revolutionary, our organizer in our midst. Comrades, Baba was also a confidant to several revolutionaries in this country. By the way, Baba was a strong ally to Ahmed Bembela, the first Algerian president. Baba was a close comrade of Bembela. You know, they of Algeria, you know, they were grounded, they were the, you know, foot soldiers of that Algerian revolution. You know, so that for comrades to know that when dealing with indeed an internationalist, one that did not understand that just the revolutionary Nigeria will solve the crisis of Africa. You know, Baba wasn't close-minded, you know, in the sense that he didn't see the entirety of the struggle within the ambience of Nigeria. Baba was a good soldier he was indeed, you know. Baba was a Marxist, clear-cut Marxist. As one of our comrades said earlier on, he was a member of the Third Internationalist. You know, Baba, in fact, was an editor of one of the major Marxist journals that we had in this country in the 70s and in the 80s, known as the Mass Line. You know, Baba was a prominent, editor of this journal, periodic journal outlet. One thing is very, very important, which we must understand from Baba. Baba was never interested in the dogmatism of ideology. You know, he wasn't, no. For Baba, the most important thing is that if you're able to understand the existence of, the material base, the prominence of the material base in our struggle, every other thing can be settled. And that's why Baba never gave in into this whole schism, this whole fraction, socialist group, that socialist group, that socialist group. No. Baba worked with every revolutionary socialist movement in this country from the 60s down to the 90s. Baba was not sectarian. All of this nonsense around people being sectarian in this society today, Baba was never sectarian. In fact, a report asked me that around the 80s, if there was any revolutionary in this country that could gather several socialist organizations, that person could not have been any other person but Baba. Baba was the only person that had what it takes. He had the prerequisite to gather all of the socialist movements in this country in the 80s to one room. No other person could do so. Clearly because of the understanding of sectarianism, in the 80s. Baba was the only one who had the ability to do this. And it is also because he was not dogmatic. Despite being a Trotskyite, Baba understood the importance of ideology, but not to entirely hold on to this ideology. But like I pointed out earlier on, comrades, we cannot ignore the fact that Baba, even within his understanding of the national question, raises the place of class analysis. And I found that to be very, very profound. Baba did not just raise the national question with a total abandonment of the relevance of class analysis. No. Baba said, if you have the Ojibwa Yoruba state and what have you, people must have the ability, people must not share in the illusion that magically Yoruba nation will be on the right path. that no, that within the Yoruba nation, the class analysis will still appear. So that for you to understand, let us don't treat Baba's national question, regardless of our disagreement with him on it, let us don't treat it with modernity. There are still some essence of relevance in his submission. Promise, let me end up by stating to us that there is a bigger challenge that we must confront. And that means that this society apparently is a neo-colonial society, and there's so much going on, there's so much madness going on in this society right now, comrades. I didn't have to tell you, comrades, that you and I today, we are living in a society where we have been told that the total wealth of 3 Nigerians to solve the problem of poverty in this country. In 2012, it used to be the total wealth of 5 Nigerians. In 2012, Oxfam told us that it was the total wealth of 5 Nigerians. But today, comrades, it is the total wealth of 3 Nigerians that will solve the crisis of poverty in this country. It was to be the days of my ancestors. We'll bring out these 3 people and they will cut off their heads in the Ojubo. You know, as a way of saying that 3 persons cannot hold millions of people, you know, it's ransom and what's up. But that's what capitalism is all about, comrades. It is a system that thrives from disparity. Capitalism enjoys disparity, but capitalism wouldn't be what she is. Yes, let's give her a gender name, or it is, you know. Capitalism wouldn't be what it is if it didn't engage itself in exploitation, you know. Disparity. That's its lubricant, you know. So there is mass, you know, state of you know, disparity in this country that we cannot but speak against. And not just this country, across the African continent, comrades. In 2018, a report has it that, you know, a total 4% of persons captures a large chunk of the income and wealth of the African people. 4% of people are in custody of the total wealth of the African continent. This as far back as 2018. Comrades, globally, part of the crisis of capitalism, in understanding is, it was also said recently that rich countries, those countries in the West, those countries in the first world or the second world category, rich countries they drain 152 trillion US dollars from the global south. Rich countries in the world, they exploit 152 trillion US dollars from the global south. Comrades, how do you understand this reality if you don't understand the place of capitalism globally? Comrades, it's also a fact that recently, just for us to understand the crisis of international finance capital, the point today, comrades, is that the entirety of our economies across the African continent, forget about all of this Minister of Economics, Minister of that, they don't do anything really. You know, those that come up with our policies, economic policies, management policies in this country are, the errand boys and girls that we have in World Bank and that we have in IMF. They are the ones in custody of the economy of this country. The Nigerian state is nothing without IMF and World Bank. They are the ones coming up, despite the fact that the economy of this country is screaming right now, comrades. World Bank in December came up with a report that this subsidy that people remove, we haven't removed this subsidy very well. You can imagine what we're covering. In December, we are facing all of this crisis in this country. We are facing scarcity here and there. People are losing their jobs. Unemployment, rate of unemployment right now in this country is on a high scale. Poverty, comrades, not far away from here now. Behind ShopRite. Comrades, that used to be my regular place coming in from Osun to Lagos. I used to pass through that arena. Now, around January, that space is just behind, you can see it behind if you're coming from Alausa, the state office or whatever. You have this playground That's where guys used to sleep. The homeless people used to sleep there. You know, barely they used to sleep there. I mean, I used to see them, they do this every January. I mean, from January. I'll pass through this environment, comrades, last week, and I was moved to tears, really, comrades, because of what I saw. And what I saw was that the population of young boys that used to occupy this territory as their homes usually used to be around 10, 15, you know, around January that I used to pass through this arena. You know, but comrades, I passed through this arena sometimes 2 weeks ago, and I was amazed at like an army of youth. An army of youth. And I was being told that they've been occupying that territory for the past 4 weeks or so. Because if you know what Lagos State government, you know, has been doing for the past few months now, they've been going to several places, you know, arresting guys, arresting the homeless people. You know, they've been arresting homeless people. They've been, they went to a pen cinema, you know, recently, and they are using this Kai bus, the Kai bus, you know, so they just smash them. If you have 3 pound homeless, we mash you too, and they've been doing this systematically. So the preponderance of boys at that particular place meant that they are running from the arrest. How can you stop people for being poor? How can you arrest me for being poor? You know, comrades. So the point is that this society is not just killing, it's not just wanting to kill you for trying to survive. This society is also ready to kill you for being poor. You know, for being poor. You know, comrades. So, comrades, let me conclude by sharing an important quote from Baba. By the way, Baba was at the start of Baba, in the sense that Baba was very, very jovial. You know, in some of the articles that we read, the state, the police, DSS, they will come and arrest Baba. You know, because Baba had was gifted with a small stature. The state, you know, they have the popular name for Baba is Baba Omojola. So DSS people will come, that they will come to Baba's home, that we want to arrest, we are looking for Baba Omojola. And Baba himself, in his office, you know, and Baba himself, because of his small stature now, the DSS people, you know, they will just ask him. Why is it? Because they couldn't have believed that they are speaking to Baba himself because of his small stature. So Baba will, in one of the writings, I thought, so whenever it's being asked that they are looking for Baba Omojola, Baba will say, I don't know Mojola, I don't know Mojola, let alone his father. You know, I don't know Mojola, let alone his father, that is his Baba. You know, I don't know Mojola, not alone his Baba, you know, to begin with. So you can see that Baba was extremely, you know, jovial despite every other thing that the struggle had put to him. There's an interesting quote from Baba. He said, and this is just for us to understand how uncompromising Baba was. He was in a gathering, and in that gathering, there were some comrades of his that had, you know, jumped ship. What we mean by jumping ship is that they are compromising, you know, someone had compromised in a value or in his value. But Baba had that clarity, that, you know, that understanding that I really don't care. Truth has got to be told, whether you are around or not. And in that particular doctrine where some elements that are compromised were present in, Baba said this: we have fought our common enemy together before in the same trenches. We have tasted the bruises, the deprivation and isolation that came as a result. But I have also seen some of you with us in this room today that have betrayed our cause and committed atrocious suicide, mere opportunists who saw our movement as a means of fleeting lucre and self-aggrandizement. In a particular gathering, Baba pointed that in this same gathering, I've seen some of you, many of you have committed class suicide and all of that, and all of that, and all of that. The point or the take home from this comrades is that in being truthful with ourselves, comrades, we have the revolutionary duty of being truthful with our comrades. Tell no lies, comrades, and
Claim no easy.
Claim no easy to come. Aluta continua.
Gloria.